The movie begins with a Native American tribe called the Osage. Like other tribes, they were forced by settlers to leave their lands. But the Osage were lucky by accident. They discovered huge amounts of oil on their new land. They became extremely rich and leased their lands to white men who extracted the oil. Their living standards improved so much that many white people ended up working for them. But there was a problem. The tribe members didn't know how to manage their wealth, so they relied on white men to help them. Each person had a close white supervisor managing their money. They bought expensive jewelry and owned luxurious cars. Their biggest ally was a white man named Hale. He had lived among them before the oil was discovered, buying farmland and helping them build schools and hospitals. They called him the friend of the Osage. One day, a young man named Ernest arrived in the tribe. He was Hale's nephew, returning from military service to live with his uncle. A man from the tribe named Henry welcomed him and took him to Hale's house. There, Ernest met his brother Byron, who was also living with Hale. His uncle introduced him to his wife and daughter and spoke about how kind the Osage people were. But he warned him about the many illnesses and deaths among them, and said the oil would run out one day, which is why he focused on farming to keep his income steady. He also warned him about all the scammers in town and gave him a book about the tribe to learn more about them. Then he told him that starting the next day, he would give him a taxi to drive so he could begin his life. The next day, a woman from the tribe named Mollie went to the town office to withdraw extra money to buy medicine for her mother, as well as treatment for herself because she had diabetes. Outside the office, Ernest was waiting in his taxi. He offered to drive her home, and she agreed. After that, she became his regular customer. A few days later, Ernest told his uncle about Mollie, saying that he liked her and she liked him too. Hale told him that Mollie's family owned a lot of land and that after her mother died, she would inherit a huge fortune. He explained that many Osage women married white American men, so their husbands would manage their money instead of some outsider. Hale advised Ernest to marry her so they could invest her wealth legally. The next day, Ernest started flirting with Mollie, and she laughed, telling him he talked too much. The day after that, he drove her home, and she surprised him by giving him a small gift card and inviting him for dinner. During dinner, Ernest learned that Mollie had diabetes and had special meals. They talked a lot and grew closer. Later, he went with her to church where he met Smith, her sister Minnie's husband. After church, everyone gathered outside to celebrate the weekend. Mollie was sitting with her sisters Minnie, Anna, and Rita. Everyone noticed how sick Minnie was, and Smith sat by her side, caring for her. While the sisters were talking about Ernest, Minnie realized that Mollie liked him and wanted to marry him. Minnie tells Mollie that Ernest only wants her money, but Anna steps in and says that Uncle Ernest is rich and doesn't need Mollie's money. Rita hopes Mollie marries him and lives happily. At the end of the day, Ernest is with Mollie in the car and proposes to her, and she says yes. They get married and have a big wedding that makes the whole town happy. After some time, Minnie, Mollie's sister, dies. At the funeral, Ernest finds out from Hale that Smith, Minnie's husband, didn't care about her health because he wanted her to die so he could inherit her wealth. Legally, her property was supposed to be divided among her sisters, but Smith took it all for himself. Years later, the whole family gathers at Mollie's house. Lizzie, Mollie's mother, wakes up terrified from a dream where an owl attacked her, and she tells Mollie that this dream means death is coming close to them. She blames them for marrying white men and having mixed blood children, saying their tribe will disappear over time. While they're talking, Anna comes in drunk and starts fighting with Byron, Ernest's brother, because she wants to marry him but he refuses. It turns out they had a relationship before. Ernest takes his brother away to calm him down. Later, Anna sits with her mom and calms down. Then Ernest tells her that Byron will drive her home, so she leaves with him. The next day, the sheriff tells Mollie that Anna was murdered. She goes to the woods and is shocked to find her sister Anna's dead body. After that, the tribal chief gathers everyone and says that some time ago Charlie was killed, and today Anna was murdered under mysterious circumstances. Before them, 24 members of the tribe died, and no one knows who the killer is. He insists that the white men are responsible, some marry the tribe's women, and others work for them, but they're all greedy for their wealth. Hale offers a 1,000 reward to anyone with information about Anna's killer. The chief announces that Mollie hired a private investigator to look into it, and he decides to send McBride to Washington to inform the Bureau of Indian Affairs to investigate these murders. The next day, Ernest and Mollie buy Anna's coffin and visit the lawyer, where they find out Anna's wealth will be split between Mollie and Rita. Ernest is shocked when he sees Smith arriving with Rita, and learns that Smith married Rita after Minnie's death to take her property just like he did with her sister. Later, Ernest takes Mollie to the train station to meet the investigator, Agent Burns, who will investigate Anna's murder. At that time, while McBride is on his way to Washington, he gets attacked and stabbed to death. The next day, Agent Burns meets Ernest and Mollie and tells them that Anna was pregnant before she died, and that he noticed Smith was searching for information about the killer himself. Afterwards, Hale asks Ernest if the investigator mentioned Byron's name, and when Ernest says no, Hale tells him to go to Blackie and order him to kill Smith and his wife Rita. Ernest does as he's told and meets with Blackie, but Blackie refuses because the payment is too low. Ernest suggests he steal a car and sell it, assuring him Hale will never find out about the car, so Blackie agrees. That night, Blackie steals the car, but the next day the police arrest him. Later, Hale takes Ernest to his house, where Byron suddenly tells Ernest to get on his knees. Hale starts punishing him with an old Masonic ritual because he found out about Ernest's secret deal with Blackie regarding the car. Hale told Ernest that Blackie got arrested and confessed everything, but Hale managed to fix the situation with the authorities and asked them not to mention Ernest in the investigations. He also told him that now they couldn't get rid of Smith, who was looking into Anna's murder, and that Ernest needed to control Mollie because she had hired a private investigator to look into her sister's death, and that would ruin all of Hale's plans. At this point, it became clear that Hale was behind all the murders of the tribe members to take over their land. He told Ernest that he loved the Indians, but their time was over and the oil fields had to be his, and he wouldn't let anyone ruin the plan he had been working on for years. Ernest apologized to his uncle and told him he would do whatever he asked from now on. The next day, Ernest and Byron went to the hotel and killed Detective Brenner. After that, Hale took Ernest to meet a gang leader named Charlie and asked him to blow up Smith's house. Charlie told him he didn't have enough dynamite, but introduced him to someone named Kirby who specialized in explosives. Hale agreed and asked Charlie's assistant, John, to set up a meeting with Kirby. The following day, the doctor went to give Mollie her insulin shot, but she refused because she didn't trust anyone anymore. She asked Ernest to give her the shot himself and to buy the insulin for her directly. Later, the doctor returned to his clinic to find Hale waiting for him with Henry. Hale asked the doctor to check on Henry because he had taken out a big life insurance policy on him since Henry owed him a lot of money. The doctor said Henry was physically fine, but Henry shared that he was depressed and thinking about suicide because his wife was seeing a man named Roy. Hale told him to calm down, but Henry went to Roy, beat him up, and threatened to kill him if he didn't stay away from his wife. After that, Henry asked his financial overseer for extra money, but he refused, so they argued. When Hale and Ernest showed up, they took Henry home. Ernest was confused about why Hale cared so much about Henry, and Hale explained that Henry owed him $25,000 and he had insured his life for the same amount, so if Henry died before the policy ended, Hale would lose his money. Later, Mollie's mother, Lizzie, died and Mollie was devastated. Then Hale invited them to dinner. Mollie said they needed to catch the killers soon. She told Hale that Mac Bird had disappeared and no one knew if he actually went to Washington, and that the investigator she hired had also disappeared, not knowing, of course, that Hale was the one who got rid of them. Hale told her to let the police handle the investigation. The next day, Hale asked Ernest to find someone to kill Henry and make it look like suicide. Ernest met John and offered him a large amount of money to kill Henry, but it had to look like he killed himself. John agreed. After that, John started getting close to Henry and hanging out with him more. One day, when they were out together, John pulled out his gun and shot Henry in the back of the head, killing him instantly. That night, Hale was furious with Ernest because John shot Henry from behind, so it wouldn't look like a suicide. Ernest told him he had specifically told John to shoot him from the front, but John messed it up. Later, they went to Roy and told him to run away because the police would accuse him of killing Henry. But Roy refused because he hadn't killed anyone, and if he ran, it would only make him look guilty. A few months later, Ernest met John and told him that Hale wanted him to go to Kirby and ask him to blow up Smith and Rita's house. John did as he was told. That night, Ernest was at home with Mollie when they heard a loud explosion. He ran out and found out that Smith and Rita's house had been blown up and that they were both dead. Mollie was heartbroken over her sister and traveled with a delegation from the tribe to Washington, where she asked the state governor to protect the Native Americans, telling him that the police didn't care about investigating the murders. At that time, Hale gives Ernest the insulin along with a bottle containing a certain substance. He explains to him that if he mixes this substance with the insulin, it will calm Mollie down and help her get through her sadness. Ernest believes him and starts injecting Mollie with the insulin after mixing in the substance. But he doesn't know that this substance kills slowly, so it will look like Mollie died from her illness, allowing him to inherit her money and property. This also helps Hale take over Mollie's family land, since she's the only heir after her mother and sisters. Days pass and Mollie's condition gets worse. One day, there's a knock at the door. Ernest opens it to find Tom, the new investigator, who tells him he's from the FBI and is investigating the murders happening in the tribe, especially Anna's murder. Tom asks to see Mollie, but Ernest tells him she's very sick and asks him to come another time. That night, Ernest meets with Hale and tells him what happened, terrified. Hale reassures him and tells him to stay calm so no one suspects anything. The next day, Tom meets with Hale and asks what he thinks about the murders. Hale says the criminals are probably outsiders, maybe African American. After that, Hale decides to get rid of the criminals he's been working with so there's no evidence against him. He meets Blackie at the cinema after he's released from prison and tells him to rob a bank and take the money as compensation for being in prison because of Ernest. At the same time, Hale informs the police so they'll kill Blackie during his arrest, but instead Blackie gets arrested and survives. Later, Hale meets Kirby, the one who blew up Smith's house, and hires him to rob a big gift shop. That same day, Hale meets the shop owner and tells him he has information that his store will be robbed that night. At night, Kirby attacks the shop, but the owner is waiting for him and shoots him dead. As for Charlie, he's drunk and gets into a car accident that kills him. Hale thinks that now he's gotten rid of all the criminals who worked with him. Afterwards, Hale meets Ernest and tells him he might get arrested, but reassures him that the lawyers will get him out if he's accused. He also tells him to stay strong and not confess to anything. Then he asks him to sign over his properties so if he goes to prison, his assets stay safe. Ernest believes him, agrees, and signs the papers. At that moment, Tom is watching them from afar. That night, it turns out Tom has a team of undercover investigators monitoring all the suspects. Tom tells his team that he spoke with an old man from the town who said he saw Anna with Byron and Kelsey leaving the bar drunk and getting into their car. Then Tom orders his team to arrest Kelsey. The next day, they arrest him, and he confesses everything. Afterwards, the police arrest Ernest and interrogate him. He denies everything, but then he's shocked when Blackie walks into the interrogation room, and he realizes Blackie has confessed about him and Hale because they betrayed him. Tom tells Ernest that his uncle used him and asks him to confess so they can treat him as a witness. Ernest believes him and confesses all the crimes Hale committed, leading to John's arrest. At first, John denies it, but when he sees Ernest confessing, he admits he received a message from Hale through Ernest asking him to blow up Smith's house. After that, Ernest asks them to take care of Mollie and protect her from Hale because he might try to kill her, so they take her to the hospital and move Ernest to a safe location for his protection. The next day, Hale gets arrested and is imprisoned awaiting trial. Mollie's health improves, and the day of the trial arrives. Ernest gets ready to testify, but Hale's lawyer asks to speak to him privately because he's been missing for 2 months and suspects he was tortured to confess. So, the judge postpones the session to the next day. Ernest leaves the court under guard, meets Mollie, and goes home with her. At night, Ernest meets the lawyer at his uncle Hale's house. The lawyer tells him that if he testifies against his uncle, the police will use it against him too, and he'll end up in jail. He asks Ernest to tell the court that the police tortured him and forced him to testify against Hale. Ernest agrees and promises to do it. The next day, he sits with Mollie, and he's happy to see her feeling better and regaining her health. He tells her that the police beat him up to force him to testify against his uncle, and he says that Hale is innocent and he's going to testify for him. Later, the police come to take him to court. When he tells them he won't testify against Hale, Tom tells him that he's now accused of killing Smith and Rita, and they take him to jail. Then the judge listens to Kelsey's testimony. Kelsey says that Hale asked him to kill Anna, Mollie's sister, and that Byron was with him that day. They took Anna to the bar, got her drunk, and then took her to the woods where Kelsey killed her. Mollie is there and she's heartbroken when she hears this. The next day, one of Mollie and Ernest's children dies. Tom goes to Ernest and tells him that his daughter passed away. Ernest breaks down and attends his daughter's funeral. He tries to talk to Mollie, but she doesn't respond. Later, he goes back to jail and tells his uncle Hale that he's going to testify against him so he can get out and return to his family. But Hale tells him that the investigators are tricking him and he'll still end up in jail. Ernest insists that he will testify against his uncle and confess to everything. On the day of the hearing, Ernest confesses to everything and says that his uncle Hale committed all the crimes to take over the tribe's lands. Mollie is shocked when she learns that Ernest helped his uncle kill her siblings. During the break, Mollie asks Ernest about the substance he used to inject her with along with the insulin. Then she leaves him and walks away. Ernest is surprised because he didn't know anything about that substance, which his uncle used to give him. Later, there's a radio play telling the story of the Osage tribe. We learn that Byron was found not guilty of killing Anna because he only held her down so Kelsey could kill her, despite the tribe's objections. Hale was sentenced to life in prison, but was released early for good behavior and because he paid a lot of bribes. He never returned to live with the tribe and died in a nursing home. Ernest was sentenced to life too, but got a pardon after 5 years. He went back to the Osage tribe and worked with Byron at a car lot. Mollie divorced him, married someone else, and died at the age of 50 because of her illness. Years later, a group of Osage people appeared celebrating the memory of defeating all the outsiders who tried to steal their wealth. That's how the movie ends. Finally, if you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to support me with a like and subscribe. Your support really helps me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. See you in the next summary.